Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed, and we are, we're on the back end of a fantastic demonstration of what we've been defining through the text. As we are learning, we always have to have both. Reading is both defining, understanding, and demonstrating what you've been defining yourself in your own experience. Otherwise, how will you know it's true? Now, we have explored the idea a few episodes ago about what makes something true, and we've pointed to reasoned reflection through words. Of course, the dialectic is the art of doing that. Verifying in your own direct experience. The ultimate experience, of course, is our peak experience of pure consciousness, which does require a kind of separating of the soul from the body. We can personify those two principles, reason, reflection through words, Apollo, reasoning, learning. Hey, welcome, Crash. I'm doing well. How are you doing? The experience, including our peak experience, is we can personify with the god Aphrodite, bringing things into a whole, a meaningful whole that can inspire you to keep reading. The book that we're reading is a banger, but hey, extra inspiration doesn't hurt. But also we have to demonstrate that what we are proving to be true. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for asking.
This is why I love this channel, man.
Because of our friendly greetings.
I'm too pure.
That's too pure.
I have a sickness for the thickness.
And also we have a sickness for the thickness. To demonstrate that what we've proven in those two ways also reflects principles of a higher truth. Socrates has pointed to the fact that we appeal to the greatest experience possible. Now, that's very different from how people, how materialists often go about proving something. Of course, scientific theory starts from the bottom up. What are things we can observe with our physical senses, put in a test tube, do an experiment on, and what can we infer about a higher truth, maybe possibly as a theory? Now, of course, scientific theories come and go. They come in and out of style with new evidence. Theories change and that sort of thing. But they can never know truth. It's always just a theory with science. Now, I've got to be careful because people who say just a theory, that expression is used in a way to dismiss evidence and reason. Oh, a scientific theory of gravity is just a theory. I don't mean that expression. What I mean is there's no confirmation, absolutely. Philosophy, or non-materialistic thinking, better thinking, is more top-down. We look to our greatest experiences. We look to our highest insights, states of being, into the states of reality, into the nature of reality and self, as a guiding principle. Now that's interesting because a lot of materialists may end up rejecting higher insight experiences, which will diminish their spiritual growth for themselves individually. Because if there are deeper insights that are available to us through these higher states of being, second hypothesis, first hypothesis, the penultimate and ultimate spiritual states, there are certain scientific theories that have to reject them for them to exist, which is of course a problem. So, reason, reflection through words, verified in our own direct experience, also appealing to and reflecting higher principles of those ultimate states of being and reality. So reflecting a higher truth. And of course, one way of doing that is using the dialectic, because the dialectic is the structure and power of the logos, which is the intelligibility of those higher states. They're not dumb states. They're super intelligent states. So there's intelligibility there. They're not dead states. So that's a part of intelligibility, vitality, life. They're not boring states. Interest, meaning, an essential element to intelligibility. And the inherent structure that the logos unfolds through the dialectic. So, what are we left with? Hermes, the dialectic; Apollo, our reading and our reflection through words; direct experience, including our ultimate experiences; Aphrodite, giving us the anagogic triad. Apollo, Aphrodite, Hermes is our method for truth. And of course, that truth has to culminate in the knowing and showing of the self. And we can personify that principle with Zeus. Now, what the text has given us is you might even be able to break down the activity of self as Chronos and the knowing of self as Uranos, which is interesting because the self doesn't have parts. It's the one self, the good self, the true self. So that's a puzzle that we have been carrying. So, definition and demonstration. We had an opportunity to demonstrate what we've been learning. All of what we've just said, we've put into a pyramid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 stages of that pyramid. We had an opportunity to test out that pyramid by addressing a chatter's question about relationships, because the principle that we are working with is as above, so below. This destiny or true purpose for our lives applies to our learning, resolving of problems, our purpose as human beings, the spiritual quest, everything, including our relationships. So in effect, we are a living dialectic. We are a walking dialectic. Our lives are following the stages of the dialectic and how we express ourselves in our everyday life, in our random thoughts, in our daydreams, in our night dreams especially, and in our relationships. The only difference is, the only question is, are you contemplating your false idea of self and therefore further entrenching yourself in your problems? Or are you in the game, the hero's quest, the philosophy game, the noblest game, and are you doing your best to instead contemplate the actual self, which does require a surfacing of your false idea of self as well. Purification and perfection. So that's the game. You're either in it or you are in a problem. There's no both sidesing this. There's no middle ground. There's no on the fence. If you're born to do this, and if your problems are caused by your false idea of self, and you're not addressing your false idea of self, you're in a problem. You're stuck in a problem. You're rejecting your purpose, you're in a problem. You wake up in a video game, or you're playing a video game, and you're starting Mario Brothers, and you refuse to move forward towards the flag, and you refuse to stomp them turts, you're in a problem. Why aren't you learning the game? Why aren't you playing the game? Why aren't you reaching the goal? Same thing applies to humanity, your human life. So that's what we're doing here. We're reading the instruction manual of human beings. And we have summarized it in this pyramid that we've defined on the board here. And so that also plays out in our relationships, of course. So yesterday we got a chance to demonstrate this by somebody asking some questions, and potentially it's difficult on chat and not in person. Don't even know if they're still there, but they got an opportunity to engage in a kind of dialectic, kind of reasoned reflection through words, questions and answers about what's most significant to them, dialectic. They hopefully saw that all of their relationships, which she has noticed follows a certain pattern, ends up a certain way with a certain image of herself. And that makes her curious. She's naturally curious about her life, about her problems. So she's been, as all human beings are, in a kind of meditation on her problem, pathologo side of the pyramid. So dialectic has a scope over both. She ends up, so this is how you can notice you have a problem. This can wake you up to the work you're here to do. She realizes that she ends up in a certain state of mind, lonely, feeling weird, with a certain image of herself. I'm a weirdo. I'm the sort of person who only has this kind of love, this kind of relationship. That image of herself has certain states of mind that she ends up living through as the conclusion of her relationships. Lonely, weird, confused. Leaving her in a kind of way of living or functioning in the world and in her relationships, of course. This is the triad. We have an image of ourselves, we have states of mind, one informs the other, and through our states of mind we function. Now, it's the functioning that tells us whether or not we're in a problem. Are you functioning in a way that, now we go to the four. This is how we end up. How it plays out in our lives. We begin with an image of ourselves, either the pathologos or logos, as a living dialectic, meditating either on the logos, true nature of self, our highest state of mind, and our highest functioning, understood as the first, second, and third hypothesis, or our false pathologos image of self, mind, and functioning. Fourth hypothesis, fourth hypothesis, fourth hypothesis. Fourth hypothesis because it's a belief. Now, this plays out in our relationships, as our friend got to see. The thing that we kind of work backwards through the dialectic when we reflect on our problems. Because the conclusion tells us we have a problem. Because our conclusion in our relationships is either a dialectical return to the sacred source of our self and reality, that is returning to the self with the logos, so self-logos, which is our purpose or destiny or ultimate goal, or fate, destiny, our purpose for the destiny of man, the purpose for all of us, our winning the game, not only stomping the turts and getting the flag, but saving the princess. Or fate, division and conflict, success or failure. These are the possibilities. Now, recognizing that her relationships were ending in a kind of failure, we go from the conclusion of the dialectic that we've been living to the division. How does it play out within the drama? What role are you playing? She got to see, well, I'm playing a kind of role where I'm not establishing my goals. I'm easy either way. I don't have any strong feelings towards anything. You can do what you like, do whatever you like to me, so long as you're not doing this particular thing. Now, it's up to her to put the label on that kind of functioning. Now, because I'm talking to myself, kind of, in this podcast, I'm going to use the word doormat. Now, that won't work for her. She has to name it. Now, she thinks this way of functioning that she's been doing is loving, good, knowing, beautiful, aspects from the high state of mind. But through this reason reflection, we put a name on what we're doing, not based on our belief, but based on its functioning. Oh, sorry, I'm behind in the chat. You're not in the box, you're looking into the box. Okay, maybe I was too far behind to know what that was referring to. Here's a box. Oh, maybe you're pointing to the fact that when we do engage in this kind of reason reflection or dialectic, we, for a moment at least, step out of the drama that we are attached to and in, which gives us a kind of separation from our stage of development we're in, which is great. We're out of the box, in a sense, when we're reflecting on the drama that we play out in our relationships. So yeah, that works. So, playing a certain role. And for that role to function, our best role, the best way of relating to each other is, of course, through the dialectic. That's our excellence of human functioning. Reason well, talk about meaningful things, talk about it in a proper way, not yelling at each other or any of the debate pervert bullshit.
Debate dweeb.
Debate dweeb nonsense, yelling, abusing, threatening, violence. That's all interpretation. That's all interpretation is from the insistence of our beliefs that work in opposition to dialectical understanding. So if our ideal is to relate in our relationship through understanding and the dialectic, which of course is a language, so you don't have to think about it once you've practiced it for a while. You just think properly. You won't want to engage in negative behavior, personal insults, appealing to team. Now we have examples of this in what Jesus has been doing. But your family is that, and my family is the better family, and that's why I win the argument. That sounds like a shitty argument to be in a relationship. Well, I believe women are this and men are this, and I believe this, and this is what I believe. That's another shitty way, a sexist way of having a relationship. That's all debate. That's all interpretation. Using belief as the standard. And of course, beliefs are bad. They have nothing to do with truth, and they are in opposition to understanding. And for example, to see this, if you understood something for yourself, why would you have to believe someone else? It's just that simple. So, what kind of interpretation are you engaged in? Another way of saying that, what role are you playing? And can you see its parts, bring the parts in together into a whole? That's understanding. And to bring it into a whole is to give it a name based on how it's functioning, and we use the word doormat. Now, she has to use her own word. She has to get to a point where she's curious enough about her problems in life and interested enough in having a good relationship or an excellent relationship that she's willing to muster the courage to name her role. No one can do it for her. All we can do is create the conditions for that kind of reflection and naming. Never any punishment, never any blame, never any shame. So none of those negatives, and in the positives, have fun. Show that we care. Show that we're not trying to manipulate her like the capitalists, like the conservatives, like the religious authorities. None of that. We're doing it because we love truth. That's it. And truth benefits. So good heart, good head, empathy and understanding. So now, this role that she's been playing out in her recent relationship, in her present, we can ask her questions. By the way, have you played a similar role last week, last year, previous relationships, present to past? Are you likely, therefore, to do it into the future? To establish a pattern, to show that there is a pattern in her roles leading to that negative conclusion. So once that has been established, we can look at the state of mind. Demonstration. What state of mind are you in? That's our DeLorean time machine. Because you can ask then the question, hey, same thing. From the present into the past. Have you been in that state of mind before? How far back can you go? How about when you were a teenager? What about when you were in school? What about before school in your childhood at home? Why is that important? Because the state of mind, that's the cause of our being in a certain role and functioning through a kind of interpretation, projection, debating.
Debate weirdo.
Debate weirdo. That is the cause of the conclusions, which is our fate. Fate meaning to be trapped in the kind of conflict and division. So we're going back through causes. The cause of that state of mind is our self-identity. Now, the positive version of that is Zeus, or the one self, or the first hypothesis, to actually know the self. That transcends even eternity as its cause. Our ideal state of mind is either the state of mind of the self or the state of mind, the second hypothesis. So those are the ideals. Just as third hypothesis, understanding, dialectic. So there's our 1, 2, 3, that reflects our self-image, state of mind, and functioning of the previous step of the pyramid, the threesome of self. So, the underlying identity you don't know you have because you take it for granted. Your whole life has been a dialectical meditation on your pathologos self-image that you play out through all of your relationships, through all of your thoughts, through all of your daydreams. You get messages about this in your night dreams. Also, you don't know you have it because you didn't come to this conclusion in words. As the Oracle says,
people don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
You didn't come to this decision by logic. You stupided your way in. Now, belief. There was a certain scenario where, hey, welcome, Reeve, welcome.
Funny, cool, and accents. This is, come on.
Come on, Reeve, you're funny, cool, and you have an accent.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like
Your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
You be joy maxing us out in here. Don't aura mog us too hard, Reeve. See, I'm cool. I'm heaps cool.
Funny and cool? Hey, leave some for the rest of us, man.
Okay. That's me. I'll leave some for the rest of you. Right. What the hell was I talking about? Self-identity. Oh, guys, we didn't come. Yes, all of that. See, I knew.
Cookie maxing.
And also cookie maxing. So we didn't come to our identity of ourselves in words. It was the appearance of beauty, the appearance of knowing, that was functioning in a way to suppress us, block us, because our ideal state, self-functioning in an open, curious state of mind, functioning independently for our own goals through reflection and understanding, that's what we were doing at a young age. But this good functioning challenges the clan way of being of the family. So the family has two choices. Usia, reflect on the family way of being. Logos, with understanding, so that family clan way of being can improve and change. But no families ever do that. None that I've ever seen. Because people have rejected their purpose. They're playing Mario Brothers, but they're staying in the first screen. They're playing Dark Souls, but they haven't even gone to the first bonfire. They're playing Resident Evil, but they haven't gone through into the mansion yet. They're standing outside with Brad's and the chopper and the dogs. Zombie dogs. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but it would be a new way of being that I guess you guys can develop, practice, share, become a beacon for the world. So, being a parent gives you an opportunity to play out your pathologos false triad of self as if you're a knower. Easy to see in capitalists. What do? I have all the money, so all of my stupid ass opinions and Elon Musk's racist bullshit, false beliefs, Bill Gates' skeevy, thieving way of being, Elon, who's the Amazon guys, cruelty towards workers gets to play out as if it's true because I've got all the money, I've got the power over you. Conservatives, same thing. Completely ignorant, completely cruel, murderous, sadistic, but they can pretend to be a knower because I have the political power. Religious authorities, capitalists, conservatives, clergy. They get to play out this abuse, torture, murder, etc., en masse, not just to the other groups, but to their individual members as well, while cosplaying the knower, while pretending to be smart, while being a guru. Now, we are seeing in all of the people, we're seeing all of these people appear on Joe Rogan's podcast. Trying to whitewash their image, pretending that their cruel and savage beliefs are actually good, so long as we lie. Also on the Joe Rogan's podcast, we see these aging comedians who are sad that they're no longer listened to. Why? Because they enjoyed playing the knower, cosplaying knowing, having people give two shits about your dumb opinions. Now no one gives two shits about your dumb opinions because you failed to learn. You failed to master the dialectic and learn what we're supposed to be learning, the logos and pathologos. It's just that easy. It's just that simple. You can't be a guru and have knowledge about the truth without the art of dialectic on the logos, because that's the definition of truth, logos. Dialectic is how you apprehend and communicate it. So these aging comedians are pissed that they don't have the art of the guru, but they want to be playing that role. Whereas capitalists, conservatives, and clergy try and put themselves in power over others so they can insist on playing that role, despite not having the expertise, understanding, knowledge, or care for their subjects because of fear and threats. One way around that is having kids. Because when you have kids, you have all the money. You're the miniature Elon Musk tyrant of the house. You are the conservatives. You make the rules in the house. And you are the clergy. Whatever you say about how people should live, what the nature of heaven and hell is, what the nature of God is, what church you should go to, you get to pretend to be this. The modern KKK, the CCC. The updated understanding. And unless that parent has gone through philosophical midwifery to the extent that they have understood and freed themselves from their pathologos, and to the extent they have an understanding of the actual logos, how we do engage in the dialectic to follow the logos rather than insisting on your personal beliefs, to that extent, well, to the extent where you have done those two things, you can be free of that tyranny. But as far as I'm aware, ain't no one doing that much anyway. There's a possibility for us as a species to do that and become good parents. But until that happens, we don't have our problems has us. Whether we like it or not, there'll be moments when we see our kid in an ideal state of mind, and our pathologos will compel us to crush that in a way that defends your role and your family way of being, where you get to finally play the Noah. Now, when we are kids and face that, we have two options: speak up, logos, or take the blame. Create the origin of our pathologos. See, it's just two things, it's two forces. That's humanity. It's just so simple. It's fun and interesting, and it expands out to further steps, but you can understand it with two things, with one thing, because the dialectic approach is for both. Now, because of those difficult conditions, and speaking up might lead to death as a 3, 4, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, we take the blame and we say, hang on a second, there must be something wrong with my functioning. I'm going to give up on my own becoming the savior of the princess, becoming the new flame of Dark Souls, becoming king of Resident Evil, to become master of the T-virus. I'm going to give up on my own understanding, self-reflection. Hey, what are you doing, kid? Reflecting on yourself. Go do something for me. Put out the trash, do the dishes, mow the yard. How can I benefit from your self-reflection? Give up. We all face this, every human being. This is the origin of human problems. Now, as a kid, not only do we see there's something wrong with our functioning, our ideal functioning, we realize, hang on a second, there's no way in hell I could have come to the conclusion that I was doing something bad. But looking at my parental figure, freaking out, obviously there's something bad. And if I couldn't have seen that, there's something wrong with my state of mind. There's something wrong with my mind. I guess he's right. I am a sinner, or I am evil, or I am less because I'm a woman, or I am a bad noodle or a small bean in some way. Because I, in my state of mind, could never have imagined that functioning was wrong. You're taking the blame for their problem. And not only are you taking the blame for their problem, if their pathologos is pretending to be the good state of mind and functioning, you accept that image of knowing, that kind of cruelty, as your model of excellence. So when you do get power as a capitalist or as a conservative politician or as a clergy member, that's what you imitate, because that becomes the surrogate for your ideal state of knowing. Hey, talking about comedians on the Joe Rogan podcast a second ago, what do they think is funny? Being cruel to minority groups and being smug about it. I wonder where they learned that. Who does Joe Rogan have on his show? Conservative politicians. Trump. Babyface. Vance. Couch man. What do they think is knowing and strong? Being cruel to American people. Being cruel to other countries. Murdering them. Torturing them. Who else does Joe Rogan? Someone whose model of comedy or knowing is cruel and smug? Like a parent. Does he have clergy? I'm not sure if he has clergy on. Has capitalists? Maybe he has religious figures. I'm not really up to date. Possibly. I mean, yeah, because he's gone Christian now, hasn't he? So again, why would Joe Rogan have gone Christian? Somehow that kind of smug cruelty, by the way, Christianity is Paul. It's the beliefs of Paul, someone who murdered Christians for fun. Paul, who rejected Jesus's experience of divine luminosity and his insistence that we reach that state of mind he calls the kingdom of heaven as through understanding, rejects understanding for faith, for belief. That's pathologos. So modern Christians are Pauline. Why would that be appealing to someone like Joe Rogan? Maybe because that whole way of being is to be cruel. You're a sinner, you'll go to hell. We have to kill the non-Christians. We have to deport all the immigrants. We have to join ICE. We have to bomb the Muslims. Cruel and smug. Oh, and we're justified. What are the conservatives using to justify their murdering of innocent Iranian children? We're doing God's work, because Armageddon. If we kill enough people, Jesus will come back. Christianity, clergy, same thing. Cruel and smug as a pathologos model of knowing that we substitute from a young age as the ideal state of knowing, which is actually true, which is actually good, which is necessary to do good things. So be they... Oh, and who else does Joe have on his show? Elon Musk. Probably Bezos, I don't know. Capitalists. Grifters. Same model. So we can say capitalists, conservatives, clergy, and comedians. Not all comedians. Joe Rogan's fear comedians. C. Now, we can trace, they're all doing the same thing. They are taking their pathologos model of knowing from this early scene where they rejected their actual playing of the video game, where they took the blame for trying to become... How do you win Silent Hill? Trying to find your dead wife and save your daughter, and magic, I think, is magic. Trying to become magic Silent Hill. Oh, that's a bad example. How do you win Resident Evil? You defeat the T-Virus. Trying to become hero of the Raccoon City Police Department. Trying to master your own understanding and use of your own intellect and reflection, self-reflection, understanding. So when the kids in his own world, doing his own self-reflection, that's when they come in. When the kid's reasoning well, that's when they come in. Logos and ousia. We abandon the state of mind that we're in, open, free, curious, or insightful, or blissful, and accept the pathologos surrogate. That becomes, this is how we can say our pathologos problem has us. Whether you're a conservative, a clergyman, comedian, or capitalist, this way of being becomes the central motivation for everything you do in your life. By definition of being a human being from this origin scene. Therefore, every human being has a moral obligation to learn their dialectic and apply it to their pathologos. An ethical responsibility, because also not just morality for your own truth and goodness, but how you ethically relate to others in the world. New chatter, first time chatter.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now we know. Defeating Satan is impossible because I'm Satan and I'm undefeatable. Oh my goodness. I wonder if I should believe you because Satan is a liar. Although you have called yourself a driveling liar in your chat name. So if you're a liar, but you say that you're a liar, then maybe you're telling the truth. But that's what Satan would want me to think. You've confused me, chatter.
Well, that's not true because I don't think so.
I don't think so. So, that's the human motivation behind all of those people who have power. And how do they function? Their state of mind is cruel and smug as their imitation of what it means to be knowing. And their functioning in the world is to, well, this statement is a lie. Ooh, hang on a second.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Emma?
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
You don't want to have to see a mental health episode.
Like literally, suck my dick, dude.
Oh my god, that's a bit too harsh. Calm down. So, when these people get power, the state of mind, their model of justice and strength, cruel and smug, plays out with, are we Christian? No, what we're doing is we're understanding the nature of Christianity, its cause, how it functions, and to understand what the ideal of human functioning is. You're a human being in life. What should you be doing? And how do you overcome your problems? And if your problems are to do with belief and your excellent is a development and perfection of understanding, how does that relate to religion? How does that relate to conservatism? How does that relate to capitalists? All of the people who have power over others and play out this imitation of knowing from their parent, cruel and smug. So what do they do when they have power? When the capitalists, the conservatives, or the clergy have power? Mass death, destruction, torture, misery sweep across the lands. So from their state of mind, they're functioning. So what have we just done? We've just understood the root cause of human injustice, death, and destruction in our species. Hooray! So, in that early scene, we're doing our good functioning in a good state of mind, seeking or being ourself and on our way to know the self. They come in and say, not in my house, because they are motivated by their own pathologos. The pathologos functions in to oppose the logos, to oppose truth and development. And of course, if they were to accept this way of being as from their child, they would have to give up their own family way of being. And fucked if I'm doing that, says all parents who finally have an opportunity to pretend to be knowing, despite the fact they haven't actually developed understanding and knowing. They get to cosplay because they are capitalist, king, and priest of their house. Now, therefore, that's the standard. We need to have the courage, character, and wisdom to abandon, to jettison, to sacrifice that desire whenever we have power over others, whenever we have kids, to end the cycle of injustice and savagery, to move from savages to sages. So there's something wrong with our functioning when we take the blame. And if they are capitalist king and priest of the household, CEO, king and priest of the household, can be dangerous to speak up when you're 4 years old, dependent. Something wrong with my functioning, something wrong with my state of mind, because I could never have imagined there was something wrong with what I was doing. This is called taking the blame. And something wrong, therefore, with me. But how do they stop? What are they insisting I should be doing? Oh, here I am seeking my goals in my own open state of mind, functioning towards my goals. That was what got them mad. Therefore, my role in the family is to be a doormat, to use the example from earlier. I shouldn't have my own goal. I shouldn't insist on what I want. My own state of mind is bad. I should follow someone else's state of mind. By the way, when we take the blame, accept that role, we accept that role for ourselves as the child, but we also accept that role of smug cruelty of what it means to be the person in charge. Those are the two roles that we are trapped in as our fate of human beings when we are in our pathologos. Hey, what does capitalists, clergy, and conservatives, how do they think about the world? Us versus them. The billionaire Epstein class versus the stupid, lazy, unwashed, goyim working class. Conservatives. Team MAGA versus blue-haired liberals, the woke. Clergy. The Christians versus the heretics. The Muslims versus the heathens. The Jews versus the goyim. The Mormons versus the people with regular, non-magic underpants that do sex and not soaking.
Gooners.
They're all a bunch of gooners, says the Mormons.
They're like a goon. They're a gooner.
They're a goon and a gooner.
You can be a gooner.
They want you to be a gooner. They don't want you to be a gooner.
The hell's wrong with you people? Sick freaks.
Sick freaks. Notice us versus them. That's how belief functions. There are two roles. So, when the conservatives have someone who's a progressive who wants to understand and help people, they get confused. So all of the accusations from conservatives and clergy and capitalists are confessions. Oh, those protesters that want human rights for Palestinians or for Iranians or for American people that don't want to be shot in the street, they're all paid. They're all con artists. They're all grifters. They're lying. They just want power so they can hurt us. Why? Because that's the only two roles they see through. The tyrant or the slave. The bullier or the bullyee. The parent or the child. So that when progressives wants to end this, because understanding is for everyone. The dialectic and understanding solves human problems in the way we're doing now and uses that freedom to reach our excellence, happiness, benefit, flourishing. They are blocked from that from the young age, and now they only see these two roles. So they say, hey, never trust Democrats. So all of these conservatives like, I don't trust Democrats, they're the bad guys. Why? Because they think when progressives talk about helping people through understanding and putting an end to division and conflict and murder, The conservatives think they're lying. At least the conservatives are honest about their desire to be the parent abusing the child. That's the whole thing of Epstein Island. Get in a locked room with a fucking child where you can play the parent role abusing the kid. And with no oversight by a legal system and a society bound by the logos, truth and justice, benefit, understanding, they fucking get away with it. Therefore, our moral and ethical responsibility to understand this, to develop whatever courage and integrity we need to challenge our own pathologos and learn the fucking logos. So we stop torturing children to death in locked rooms in mansions by fucking billionaires, priests, and conservatives. If you wanted to say it out loud. But of course, that's just it's not just, it's the most important thing is for us to do it for ourselves, not for saving humanity. That's also important, but it's secondary. Who knows what the path of humanity has in store? We can do our best to direct it in a positive direction, but at least we can do it in our own lives. So, this is why they hate the Democrats. Or Democrats. Wrong word, because those are the same pathologos people calling themselves progressives, but they're lying. So when the people who are actually progressives, well, hang on a second, you're just pretending to be nice, but my parent did that. But when you really get power, like my parent, you will actually put us in prison camps. So we're going to put you in prison camps first. Fuck you, you liberal, with your blue hair. At least Trump is honest about his cruelty. That's one more than you Democrats have, because they are stuck in their belief worldview. Fourth hypothesis, pathologos. They are stuck with their seventh hypothesis, rejection of the logos. There is no actual higher purpose where we can come together in unity and understanding for health and flourishing. No, it's a battleground between good and evil. It's a battleground between God and Satan. It's a battleground between the parent and the child is the bad one. That's the sinner. Because I must have been a sinner if I was in my ideal state and my parent came in from their pathologo state of being and crushed it. That's the nature of all human problems. And we can see that on the pyramid. So, we abandon our seeking of the self as our motivation. We abandon our good state of mind and our own use of mind. We fear the mind, because hey, if we use the mind, we get crushed. We fear our understanding. If we learn and develop, we get crushed. So never learn anything. Never be open and curious. Just act like you know everything all the time and insist on your beliefs instead of understanding. That's the way of being for people and their problems. That's the only way of being for the 30% of the population who are stuck completely. The racists, I'm not learning anything new. Learning's for liberals. Learning's for eggheads. I'm not changing my mind. I'm not going to be open and curious. I know everything because I learned from the school of hard knocks. I'm not going to spend my life discovering the true nature of myself. I already know what myself is. I'm not interested in this philosophy. Why would I do philosophy? I know what I am. All philosophy is seeking to know you. That's the game. That's saving the princess. That's defeating the T-virus. That's doing Silent Hill and winning and getting the daughter back, I think. That's defeating the Metal Gear Solid. We're all human beings who don't know the self and carry a false image of the self. So shouldn't everyone be interested in this? Why aren't they? Because I know what myself is. Hey, we're reading a book that's a fucking banger. Perhaps the greatest book ever written. and we're learning how to read it as we go. Why isn't everybody into this stuff? Because I fear understanding. Because when I was understanding, I got crushed. We can be open and curious and create the conditions for further insight, higher and higher insights. Nope. I fear the mind. I fear the mind, self and functioning. I fear the true triad of self that we are supposed to be doing. And I believe that the pathologos version, that's an imitation of our parents when they crushed us. I believe if I'm either in that role or the tortured child role, the tyrant or the slave, the fascist or the bootlicker, the Trump or the ICE Gestapo, towing the line for the family. If I stay in, I benefit. They think they benefit because when they were 4, they did in a way. They benefited by surviving under the tyrannical rule of a parent. In our current society, that's how we fucking do child raising. It's weird and it's sick. We hope and pray that a parent won't abuse their child. All right, how's that working out for us? But I've got a right to torture my child. I've got a right to pretend to be a priest and force them into religion. I've got a right to pretend to be the conservative and say, my house, my rules. I've got a right to pretend to be the capitalist and say, do as I say or I'll kick you out in the street. Surely a child shouldn't have universal access to housing and food no matter what. How dare you? Have you had children? Who are you to say? That's why the pathologos is the strongest force, even though what we're saying is obvious and true and sensible and helpful and can save the world. Human beings will reject that because of their belief that they benefit from the old way of being, conservatism, conserving the old way of being, and their fear of progression. The loyalty the loyalty to the pathologos because there's a perceived benefit and a fear of the logos. What we are doing is finding where we learnt that. So it was a kind of solution to abandon your true functioning, to accept a role within the tyranny of the household that might have allowed you to survive, but as an adult, or as someone, well, any age really, when you have the ability to reflect, you can realize that the solution no longer applies. So that's why there's no blame or shame in this game. Bars.
Jester Goon Max.
I just Goon Max you with those bars. Because it's not every problem is a solution that no longer applies. It's important to understand. So what? So, because when we took the blame in that origin scene, we didn't put words on it, no logos. We weren't asking questions, it was too dangerous to do so. Our self-image was not put into words. And as the Oracle tells us,
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
so we didn't reason ourselves into that position that we didn't reason ourselves into because we were blocked from the logos. That's why we don't even know it's there. So, what do we do in our dialectic with our friend? We can look at our functioning. We can find our states of mind by seeing how it plays out within the 4 stages of the drama that we play out in our lives. Everything, our thoughts, our tangents, our daydreams, our distractions, in our relationships, our night dreams, everything. But we're looking at the relationships version. But because it plays out in all of them, you can find correspondence, find a pattern emerging. I gotta stretch. Big stretch.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
How's that relevant? Ooh. So So what? How do we identify the self if we don't know it and we take it for granted? And it's our false belief that we already know what the self is that prevents people from doing real philosophy. Asmongold has 50,000 viewers. Hassan Piker has 50,000 viewers. Technically, those 100,000 viewers should be following every one of my streams. Because every one of us are in this game. Every one of us has sadness and suffering and problems. Every one of us is carrying the pathologos, and every one of us is born to discover the self. Why aren't they? Because
That's weird that you think that.
they think something that's weird.
What is this? The damn Opie and Anthony? Okay, whatever.
Opie and Anthony.
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Brain
Unbelievable.
rot escalates.
Because they're escalating their brain rot because they think they know the self. They've never questioned it because they never put it into words in the first place. So, we look at our conclusion, back to the dialectic of our life, our living dialectic that our lives are. At the end of our dramas, at the end of your course that you take, at the end of your study, at the end of your game, at the end of your relationship, at the end of your daydream, at the end of your fantasy, you notice you are either in a success or failure. You're either trapped in your fate or you are moving towards your destiny or purpose, beating the T-virus, winning the princess, doing the Silent Hill, or repeating problems, blocks, failures. The role, what role were you playing? Now, at the role stage, we can notice it is a pattern, but we can see that if we find the state of mind you're in when you're playing that role, what does it feel like? That's your time machine. When did you feel that way? Yesterday, last week, last year, when you were a kid, when you were at home as a child. What's the earliest time you can remember that state of mind? That's your time machine, because the state of mind brings you back to this earlier scene where you got that role that has become your life now, become your meditation. So the state of mind takes you back to what it felt like to be this kid right here. And that's the object of our reflection in philosophical midwifery. The doormat functioning that leads to your I'm weird and sad and lonely conclusion has a state of mind and has as its cause an unsuspected, unknown idea of the self that we have to infer because it wasn't given to us in words.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They
Stupid their way into stupid.
position.
We didn't logic our way in, there was no logos, so we have to infer, now that we're at that scene, by examining that scene with, once again, it's the dialectic, applying it to that scene to compare what you believe, fourth hypothesis, to what you understand through the art of dialectic, understanding through dialectic, third hypothesis. Therefore, by definition, the way we solve human problems, be they playing out within our society, within religion, within politics, within capitalism, or within weirdo comedians insulting people on stage, wherever we find it, it is solved by moving from belief to understanding. Fourth hypothesis, functioning, belief, to third hypothesis, understanding. Or using the dialectic to remove the logos and move the pathologos, and the dialectic is the use of the logos. So using the logos to remove the pathologos. And that we got to demonstrate with somebody asking, hey, I'm in this role. This is what I do in relationships. Now, you can't do one without the other. You can't do the removal of human problems without the seeking of our excellence. So what we also said is, hey, if that's the Okay. If that's the division and conflict, or the negative conclusion of your relationships, what's the positive? If this is the negative role and interpretation through belief that you're in, what's the role you should have? That's your negative state of mind. That's a contemplation on your negative self-identity that keeps you in your problems in this lifetime and after you die. Because remember, we're in a game where we have some time as a human being, but it will expire. Just like on Mario Brothers, you have a timer on the clock. So this is a phase within your evolution as a soul. This significance is not just to save humanity or to benefit humanity or to end human suffering and problems and tyranny. It's for your soul. Beyond this lifetime. So if those are that's a negative state of mind, contemplating the negative identity of yourself that plays out negatively throughout your incarnations, what relationship should we have? Notice in her doormat role, in all of our problems, there is a kind of self-defense mechanism, something that protects it. Mirroring, remember the four triads of the 12 gods? There's our anagogic triad, our upward moving activity. That's what we do. Apollo, Aphrodite, and Hermes. There is the vivific triad. Power, ousia, the existence of ousia that we utilize in our activity. There is our ruling triad. The self, Zeus, that which rules all of the intelligible realm and that which brings life and helps the development of bodies, Zeus, Poseidon, Hephaestus, which is the same triad that we've been using all the way through. There has to be an existence, there has to be a power, there has to be an activity. All we've done is broken them down into further triads. The existence triad, Zeus. The activity triad, the top is Hermes. The power triad, I think the top is Demeter. There's one more, the protective triad, that makes the 9-12. This protective triad keeps everything together. That's something that's overlooked in modern science. We talk about how physically, how this can be a cup, the atoms and the forces. The quarks, the covalent bonds, the weak nuclear forces and the strong nuclear forces. But we don't ask the question, what keeps it that way? What keeps it that way? What keeps the cup together? What keeps it together each moment? What keeps these forces prevailing? These covalent bonds and quarks. The protective triad. Now, those are the warriors, I believe. Athena, Ares, Athena, Hephaestus? No. Hestia. Is she a warrior? I always forget that one and I forget the vivific one. I focus on the anagogic because that's philosophy. And the ruling because that's our goal. So there's a kind of version of that within our problem. Notice the pathologos is an imitation of the third, or within our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hypothesis of our soul's development, the one self stands apart. 2 and 3 is our state of mind and functioning. That's wisdom. The whole is the second hypothesis, the brilliant light of being. The parts are understanding. It's our peak experience and our peak experience and the dialectic. The two together, wisdom. But notice this line of reflection from the realm of mind, wisdom, to the physical world. So belief, as we've seen in this origin scene, is our parental figures or our earliest spiritual teachers, the priest of the house, imitating knowing. And we've seen human problems are just when people who haven't addressed that get into positions of power through money, capitalism, through religion, clergy, through politics, conservatives. Or if you want to include Joe Rogan's fear in there as well, the cruelty of comedians that punch down and feel smug and think that's comedy. So the fourth hypothesis follows that line of symmetry, reflecting, imitating in the physical world in shapes and colors, the second. Just as the fifth hypothesis, the functioning that opposes our development from your beliefs, that says there is no mind or self, or we can't connect with it, or it's long since abandoned us, then maybe there was a God, but he left us, we need to blow up the world, and maybe Jesus comes back. And maybe Jesus will come back with the milk and the cigarettes, is an imitation of understanding. Or the third. So we can see our pathologos, or vice, is a reflection, an imitation, a distorted reflection of virtue. Human problems, pathologos, is an imitation of wisdom. Which is why these comedians get all pissy when they get into their 40s and 50s. Because they've done no fucking work in developing wisdom, but they want to pretend to be wise. So they become more cruel and right-wing, and conservative, and capitalist. They become further entrenched in their ignorance and problems. Funny that. And then they go to the Rehard Comedy Festival and become a shill for the worst of them. All right, so we got to have a look at this with our friend yesterday to understand what particular drama she was living out. But then the next question was, well, what's the ideal? What should I do? Because you've got to do both. As you insist on your ideal in relationships, you will find that self-defense mechanism of your problems coming up to defend itself. That's why we need those 5 stages of the hypotheses, along with the 5 stages of interpretation from your problems. Need both. This map we are being asked to make ourselves. This map we got from Socrates' teacher Parmenides. So we're adding to the tradition. So I went through those gods to talk about a self-defense mechanism. Why? Because each role not only leads to the conclusion, but has a self-defense mechanism. What would it be for the doormat? I can't insist on my own goals. I can't insist on there being a true nature of a good relationship because I'm just a doormat. That would be, isn't that just the same as being a tyrant? Hey, people say this, don't they? You Democrats wanting to force your way into ending tyranny, isn't that just the same as the tyrants killing people because you're both using force? Hey, you're supposed to be the tolerant left. Why aren't you tolerant of my intolerance? You being intolerant of my intolerance, isn't that the same? Liberals think that, so I'm not picking a side. They don't recognize there's a difference between logos and pathologos. There's a difference between conservatism and progressive. The doctor takes the Hippocratic Oath to help people. If there's a doctor that's murdering his patients, he's not actually helping people by helping that doctor kill people. even if he really wants to. You don't do good by allowing people do bad, even if the fascists or the pathologos-driven people really want to do bad. That's not good, that's not tolerance. By you being strong and assertive and using your words and speaking up in your relationship and in anything you do is not the same as the way your parents did it. So, for fear of being the tyrant like her parent, she protects her role as the doormat. I don't want to assert what I want in relationships. Wouldn't that be just as tyrannical as the abuse I'm trying to avoid from my parents? No. No. You are reframing truth within the us versus them tyrannical dynamic of pathologos. They are different. Left and right are different. Fighting to end Nazis is not the same as trying to murder everyone to meet the whims of the Nazis. Pierre Grimes, the author of this book, had an interview on, has many great interviews I recommend, with Jeffrey Mishlove. Jeffrey Mishlove knew Thinking Aloud, and this was the problem Jeffrey was having. The author of this book was a war hero in World War II against the Nazis. Fought to stop the Nazis. And Jeffrey said, aren't you just being tyrannical just like them? Because you're using violence to stop their violence? Isn't that just more violence? No. Pierre wasn't trying to imprison, enslave, murder, torture, exploit the world. He was trying to stop that. When we insist on a model for good relationships, we need it because part of a good relationship is stopping the tyranny, stopping all of those bad things that she thinks that she can avoid by being a doormat. She is inviting. She needs to have the courage to insist, this is what I want in a relationship. There is a truth, there is a standard, and part of that standard is ending fighting, ending abusive relationships, ending tyranny. That doormat role is the establishment Democrats. We are not going to insist, like doctors have a standard and a Hippocratic oath. There's an ideal of the body they have to have a knowledge of. There is an understanding of its parts. And there is an insistence that you always use it to benefit the subject. That's the same for pilots, as it is for surgeons, as it is for any profession, but the fucking Democrats will not insist on it. So the fascist tyrants, the religious class, the capitalist class, the conservative class, can get away with no knowledge, no understanding, and hurting people. They are the doormats. You don't solve problems by being a doormat. You solve problems by insisting on truth. As we insist on this standard for doctors, we insist on this standard for pilots. That's not being tyrannical to say, hey, you want to be a dentist? Here's a hammer. Go smash some faces. That's not being tolerant. That's being abusive. Democrats that do not insist on a standard for society are being abusive. There's a reason why they're not standing up to the mass murder and the ICE and the imprisonment and the concentration camps that are happening from these conservative groups. And that's reflected in the relationship that we looked at last time. Hey, I'm not going to insist on what I want in a relationship. Wouldn't that be kind of abusive? No. The thing you're trying to avoid by being a silent wallflower, a doormat, whatever word you want to put on, she puts on it, it's her word, is part of the protective triad. Has some sort of existence, has some sort of power, and has some sort of activity, not to defend the true triad of self, mind, and activity, each of which have their own triads, as we looked at, giving us 12 gods, but it's protecting her pathologos. So once again, we see all human problems are a reflection of truth. There is a self-defensive protective mechanism within our human problems that protects the pathologos. Her insisting, oh no, I can't understand. I can't insist on an ideal. When I'm in a relationship, I don't want to talk about what I want from that relationship, what our shared ideal should be, how we should relate to each other, whether or not it should be through debate,
Dweeb.
whether or not we should be like all other relationships, imitating the functioning of our parents from childhood, causing the same problems over and over again because that's our model of love that we are carrying. No, I'm not going to insist we don't do that, and instead together work with our functioning, our division, our roles towards a shared ideal of our great states of mind, peak experiences, unification with beauty and truth, to ultimately see, remember, reflection, just as our pathologos was an inferred idea of self, that's why we have to go back to the origin scene, so too, the actual self is inferred. Because it's not an experience. It's a recognition, it's a state of being, in a sense, but it's not an experience. So we take our peak experience, mind itself, as its reflection to infer what the self must be. That's why we return to the self through the logos. That's why the logos is necessary in spirituality. That's why Socrates said in the book, if you have not in your spiritual and spiritual process, excuse me, if you have, here, let's read it. Unless you include in your study the dialectic, which is the power of the logos, you will utterly fail to achieve the passage from the brilliant light of being to the good itself. Self-logos, the greatest experience, you can infer what must be its cause, therefore bringing the logos to the self, making Zeus, or our highest goal, the self-logos. That has to be insisted on any relationship that wants to be good. Otherwise, you will spend your life doing harm. Your relationship and all of the activities you play out will further entrench that state of mind, that role, and that image of the self that you are carrying from the origin scene you are supposed to reflect on. The way you win the game, the way you defeat Silent Hill, the way you crushed them turts, perchance, is by addressing that origin scene. Socrates points out, hey, the fact that there might be siblings who experience the exact same origin scene, they walk away with different pathologos conclusions about themselves, which lets us know that our problem we carry in with us. In other words, the origin scene gives us an opportunity. It's a kind of gift. It's the cause of all of our problems, but if you understand what it's supposed to be there for, it's a gift because it gives you all of the things you need to reflect on that false idea of self that your soul is carrying with you into this lifetime. So you don't have to do past life regressions or any of that, because that origin scenes gives you everything you know to see what idea of the self you must have inferred from this origin experience that becomes the model and standard for your life, becomes the psychic parasite that puts you in the NPC zombie role. That's the cause of all human problems. You can reflect on that to find that inferred self, to free yourself from it, which is your purpose. That's the game. But again, the ideal relationship is to facilitate that. So everything we're learning about how Socrates has been talking to Jesus is to create the conditions and understanding for someone to go through this kind of self-reflection. Therefore, our friend in chat should be insisting on this as a standard. I want to reach the highest states of self. I want to fulfill my purpose. I want to reach excellence. I want to experience the highest states of reality and beauty and bliss with you. I want to perfect my highest activity as a human being, perfect my understanding. I want to finally return with your help to the sacred source, the self logos. That's what I want as in our relationship. That also involves removing the negative version. I want to have a kind of relationship where we encourage self-reflection, especially on our dreams, but on any problem we have, to surface this false idea of the self and everything we've been doing together in our reading and learning of the logos and dialectic. I want to apply to that origin scene to free myself from my image of myself that keeps me from knowing my true self. So I can be free to know the self, perfect my excellence, fulfill my purpose, create works with you. This is the next step. Together in that way, we can, if we go through this process, create works of art and literature that can survive in humanity for 1,000 years, that can be works of reflection for all of humanity to benefit them, that can last longer and be of greater benefit than the Quran, than the Bible, than Homer and Hesiod. Giving birth to these kinds of children. That has to be the standard. The ideal you seek. At least as an ideal. Otherwise, you're stuck in your problems. So, hopefully our chatter will watch the VOD of this and will enjoy this reflection on our talk. And therefore demonstrating A and B state that we live in human beings. B state was the problem state that caused her to be curious enough to ask a question, which was great. Oops.
I would scoop the moon in a cup.
For you.
We would scoop the moon in a cup for her for having the courage to ask that question.
If you don't know now, you know.
Hopefully she knows.
They're secretly turned on.
And maybe she's secretly turned on by it.
You just attacked my person. You just harmed my body.
I'm sorry.
Like literally suck my dick, dude.
Yeah, calm down, dude. Calm down. So, what are we seeing? The problem that sparked her curiosity, the conclusion, division, and conflict. The inevitable conclusion that's the cause of all human problems. She saw it. We've been looking at it play out within society, in our race, but within our soul, but it also plays out in relationships. As above, so below. This is what made the stakes big enough for her to even want to ask the question, to use her voice, because it must have been difficult for someone with the doormat role, an idea of love, an idea of what she should do in the world, to even speak up. That required courage and character. So for her,
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
so she is joy maxing and aura mogging with asking the question. So it's that conflict or problem that sparks our curiosity, that allows us, that's conclusion. Remember, definition, demonstration, division, conclusion. That's the 4 categories of the dialectic we're here to master as human beings. To crush them turts, get that princess, win Resident Evil, and save Silent Hill from the monsters. Division and conflict. She was then able to look at her division. In what way in her relationship was she rejecting the dialectic, understanding, definitions, reasoning, conclusions, truth-seeking, questions and answers in her relationship? And that was easy to see. She wasn't insisting on anything. She was rejecting truth, like the Democrats. And how was she instead appealing to her beliefs as facts? Well, I believe if I insist on something, I'm a bad bean, bad noodle. Us versus them. Hey, me versus you. Was she doing any of that? Your ideas against my ideas. I'm going to be a doormat and let yours win. This is my family way of being. When she asked questions, well, no, I don't think that this is the cause of my relationships. I think I have a problem in my relationships because X, Y, and Z. That's her own interpretation. And I pointed out to her, hey, if you knew your problems, you wouldn't have your problems. You have to be open to realizing you don't know. If you insist that you know how your problems come about, you'll just stay in your false idea of knowing. Conclusion, division, her role. Demonstration, we asked her about her state of mind. Don't know whether she answered, but that would be the question she'd have to answer. What did it feel like? Being weird, being lonely, something like that. And then, of course, we use that to find the origin scene so we can see the inferred idea of self by addressing that origin scene. Similar to the actual role we're playing, Apollo, reading texts together. Reaching our ideal states of mind, Aphrodite, Usia. But as we just saw in the text, from our reading, our conclusion is master, not conflict and division, but together mastering the art of the dialectic. That should be your goal with your beloved. Because it's that dialectical reflection of understanding upon that peak experience that you may have with your beloved, that you use the dialectic to infer from that experience what must be its cause or the self. That's what we read here. If you do not include in your study the dialectic, you will utterly fail to achieve the passage from that brilliant light of being, beauty itself, peak experience, philosophical orgasm if you want to be fancy.
I'm just asking for some gooner men.
Just asking for some gooner men.
Gooners.
You have the brain of a child if you think gooner bait.
If you think gooner bait.
All checks out.
So, you'll utterly fail to reach the self or the good. Therefore, you need to apply your Apollo understanding and Hermes dialectic to Aphrodite, your peak experience, to achieve that passage to the good or the self logos, Zeus. Similar to, in our problem, you also have to apply your understanding from reading Apollo, mastered in your art of the dialectic, to the negative state of mind, the B state of mind, to have passage to the false idea of the self. See the similarity? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't there a beauty in the similarity between human problems, B state, and our excellence, A state? Is it fun that there's only two things? Is it fun that there's only one art? Is it fun that there are only 4 stages you have to practice to understand how it plays out in your life? Is it fun?
Imagine people changing their positions and improving for the better.
Can I do my plugs now? I'm trying to do comedy career.
No time for plugs. Because this is more fun, right?
Absolutely gooped.
You're gooped.
Can't you just engage with anything in a way that's like meaningful ever? Like, it's just boring, I think, is the problem. I'm just bored of it.
Yeah, I'm just bored of your silliness, RM.
Okay, that sounds stupid.
Freaks.
You freaks. All right, Emma.
Crap. Junk. Nobody should be watching this crap.
Oh my god, you're so butthurt, RM.
Wrong. You're so wrong.
So wrong.
But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
But you can be wrong sometimes. So, it's okay, we're all allowed to be wrong sometimes. Isn't that fun? So therefore, the origin scene state of mind is like a spiritual initiation experience, peak experience, Aphrodite Usia experience, but but in its negative, distorted sense, because human beings are themselves carrying their own pathologos as their own motivating force within their life. So, the more our chatter from yesterday reads with us, the more she will Apollo understand this as the standard of her relationship that she should be insisting upon, and also understand when her problems come up. She will understand and get to try out for herself what will happen if she does say, hey, in a bar, hey, baby. I should stop saying, hey, baby. Sometimes people cringe when they hear that. I say it jokingly, approaching someone in a bar. Hey, baby. Hey, toots. Hey, broad. Is that on my soundboard? Broad? Thought it was. I have to use my... I can't use my board because it's randomized. I want to find the one sound. I think it's this one.
Look at this broad.
Hey, look at this broad. Hey, baby. So this is her speaking, not me. I'm not cringe.
Absolutely gooped.
I'm not goop. Hey, you sound like someone, or you look like someone who's got a good head on his shoulders and maybe a good heart in his chest. Could we do this? Would you be interested in seeking our highest goals together? Experiencing our highest states of mind? Engaged in the highest kind of activity? Reading these kind of banger books where we can learn about our purpose? Read the manual and play the game? Play the video game of life? End up the mastery of an art that we can benefit our current life and our former and our further reincarnations? Would you like to have that kind of relationship? By the way, this kind of relationship is necessary if you want to put an end to the bullshit you grew up with, the problems you've played out in all your other relationships. Do you want a better relationship that you've ever had? Then this is our standard. Because just as in the experience of, or in the afterglow of our peak Aphrodite experiences of beauty and bliss that we can reach together, we apply the Hermes dialectic from our Apollo reading to reflect on it, to go through it to a even higher state of reality, reality, true reality, ultimate state. And the more we perfect that and practice that, the more we get that true guruship that everyone wants. This is the thing that people get mad about when they lose their money and they can't pretend to be a guru because they're the CEO. They can't. Notice they want to be fucking life coaches, professional opinion havers. I lose my political power, so I can't pretend to be a guru. I lose my position within the church, so I can't pretend to be a guru. I lose my viewers for my comedy show, so I can't pretend to be a Noah. Not only can we reach this state of excellence of a soul that is our purpose, and in this game and for our incarnation, but it's necessary if you want to put an end to your problems. The crappy relationships you've had, the conflict you've had, the division you've had. If friend in chat doesn't insist on that and continues to be a doormat, she won't ever put an end to the problems that she faces in her relationships over and over and over again. As true for her as it is for everyone. But again, if you do perfect that art of the dialectic, not only do you get to have these awesome, blissful experiences and mastery of the art, but you also get to free yourself from your problems, because as you apply the dialectic to your problems, every problem is an opportunity. It's not an excuse to yell at someone, which is just you playing your parent, further entrenching yourself in your problems. Every problem is a golden opportunity to do what you're here to do. Every problem you have is an opportunity to find the princess. To solve the Metal... I didn't play Metal Gear much. I always wanted to. to solve the Silent Hill, to defeat the T virus. It's a win-win.
Win, 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 win.
And win-win-win-win.
It's a win, 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 win.
It's a
win, win, win.
win-win-win. So, in past relationships, it's only a kind of ticking time bomb to the division and conflict, which will further entrench yourself in your false image of yourself, because that's your motivation, because you don't have the pathologos, it has you. Start the clock in every relationship. Or a good relationship, every conflict is an opportunity to find what role you were playing or rejecting. Find the state of mind you were in. Use that as your DeLorean time machine to the origin scene. And use that dialectic you've been learning together in your good relationship to address that state of mind and see or discover what was the inferred image of the self that you didn't put into words that has been motivating your whole life. Or as the Oracle says,
People don't logic their way, stupid their
Way into stupid.
positions.
too much delay.
People don't
Logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
They stupid their way into. You didn't logic your way in, but you have to dialectic your way out. And
Imagine people changing their positions and improving better.
you can change your position, and this is the way of changing your position and improving for the better.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know.
imagine people changing their positions and the better.
Learning for the better.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy.
Okay. And we know about joy maxing. So this is a review. I guess that's the whole episode today. A review on how we understood her. By the way, she came in asking for advice. None of this is advice. This is an understanding of the universal principles that apply always. She can understand this for herself. Doormats want advice from others. Her true self, the philosopher within, wants understanding. She can perfect this. As she perfects this, she can reach that freedom from her pathologos and an achievement of her selfhood. And by going through the steps and feeling what it's like to go through the steps, she can pass on the tradition. That role that the people want the money and the power and the fame to play, she gets to play through her actual qualification. And today was a review of the steps we took her through. Again, difficult on chat, don't know if she's still there or not, etc., etc. But these were the steps we were potentially going through. And when we saw that, first of all, she had to drop her opinions. By the way, the more that she practices this, the more she gets familiarity with this, the more mature her understanding of this becomes, the more open she will be to looking at her first offered solutions to her problem and then putting them aside and then going through the step of reflection, coming to the new solution, and then she might see that her first offered explanation is a reflection or an example or a demonstration of that very problem that she didn't know she had the whole time. That does require further maturity in the game, but that's on the table. Because she offered her, this is why I have these problems. Wrong. No, that's the protective triad around your problems. She had to put that aside for her to go through whatever steps she was able to go through. Now, because she's new, we probably wouldn't have... I didn't go through the time of writing down what she thinks the problem is. But in a year or two, maybe we'll go through that. Only as a further fun insight. Oh, wow. Holy crap. I didn't even know I was doing it. It's everywhere. It's like a fractal. We are in a beautiful, intelligible universe. What do you know? Everything I do is a clue about my problem, even my possible explanations of my problem. Wow. See, further insight, further enlightenment, further wonder, further joy and wonder and whimsy.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder, dude?
But usually not for beginners, unless you're very, very special. Well, that's not fair because she's special, but maybe in rare cases, who knows? And by the way, as you perfect your art, you'll figure that out. So all we did was take her natural curiosity and wonder. And that's what we've been learning in the book. To get into philosophy, there has to be something that triggers a curiosity. Music can play that role because music is a kind of fascinating, inspiring beauty that follows harmony. There's a harmony in music. So too, her realization, oh my God, I always have these same kind of relationships. I always have the same problem. People always call me weird. That's a kind of pattern. That's a kind of harmony that triggers our curiosity about what's the intelligibility behind it. How can we play music with this? How can we get beauty out of this? How can we benefit from this? We started there. We started from her own Aphrodite. Followed her through these stages of the dialectic. What is she rejecting and what is she doing in her role? What's that state of mind? If she stayed in the chat long enough, she could have gone to see that there's a history in that state of mind. Now, whether or not she's willing to look at the origin scene is up to her. But at least with these 3 stages, she can recognize that state of mind the next time she's in it. I'm in that state of mind again. I don't have to play out that whole drama. I know how this movie ends. It's boring to me. Oh, I should have drops for boring.
Look at this broad.
Look at this broad.
Well, that's not true because I don't think so.
It's boring to me now. If she recognizes the state of mind, she can avoid that drama and the inevitable failure, fate, conclusion, suffering. It'll keep coming up until she addresses its source or cause, but she could sidestep it, avoid it, and instead jump into the positive. Oh, I'm in this pattern. Let me have the courage to drop that and try something new. So we went about that far through this, and then we went into the positive to explore what she could be offering that she has been not offering by playing the doormat role. And if she does insist on that, maybe she will attract a different kind of person that can help her go through all of these stages as they both learn together the dialectic as their shared ideal. Zeus with the logos, Zeus and Hermes hand in hand. She can go through midwifery and dream analysis to stop that or purify that, win the game. So this won't have to eventuate anymore. Now, hooray for us. That's a review of our mini dialectic yesterday, a demonstration of what we've been defining. To do that, all we did was use that pyramid that we've been using. Oh, and by the way, one more stage, because that's the 4, the activity, her A state, good relationship, B state, negative relationship. But there's one more. We can also, together with our partner, our, what's the cool word, beloved? Not baby. Hey, baby. Hey, toots. Not toots. We can map your progress. And as a dialectician, you can judge them as well. So there's our 5. Our movement from our rejection of mind and logos. There's no ideal. By the way, this plays out in society as well. Democrats, just as doormats. Democrats are the doormats of society. So rejecting, fourth hypothesis, belief. Oh, you've been rejecting a principle. Okay, now you're open to a principle, but it's the one that you believe. Women should be submissive to men, anything like that. You know, you get the deal. The more she practices this, the more she might be able to recognize she's in the third hypothesis. She's developing understanding, together with her good relationship partner, perfecting the art of dialectic. The more she does that, and the more they apply it to their dreams every morning when they wake up, wouldn't that be lovely? She might be able to recognize in her dreams or in her waking life, she's experiencing insight or out-of-body experiences or spiritual experiences that she can recognize as knowledge of the ideal or the brilliant light of being. Second hypothesis. And as we said, it's this, you need to this is why it's the meaning of life. You won't reach your goal. You won't crush them turts and save them princess. You won't defeat the magic of the Silent Hill monsters. You won't blow up the T-virus unless your third hypothesis dialectic is applied to those peak experiences, which can happen in spiritual sexuality. Because, hey, you're either doing one or the other. You're either using your intimate experiences to pour energy into your pathologos model of beauty, your pathologos idea of self, your pathologos role in whatever role play you play, or you're pouring it into the true. The use of your imagination in intimacy to perfect the self, which will elicit even higher states of bliss. But either in that state or in the afterglow, applying the dialectic to that state to realize there has to be a cause that you infer from that state, that you develop through understanding, preparing you to go beyond even the greatest experience to know the self, the first source, the ultimate source, the true nature of reality, and where the real fun might begin. A fun you don't have to jump out of, because even experiences you come in and out of. So even the second hypothesis ain't it. And Jesus is struggling with that fact right now in the dialogue. Taoists think that it's it. So good luck if you want to help those guys. Because they have a whole tradition. As we've said, people build traditions and cult followings and life coaching or whatever around their own insights, which might further entrench them, but there you go. So forget them, they are jabronis.
Look at this broad.
They are broads.
Hey, you can't say that to her. You show her some respect.
I'm sorry.
Wrong. You're so wrong.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
That's right. Broad shouldn't be an insult.
Calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits.
Oh man, that lady's certainly saying bad words.
Isn't she? So recognizing those peak experiences. Oh my God, I'm on stage 2 of the map. Hypothesis 2. Oh, and by the way, these hypotheses you can read together. There is a Balboa translation of Parmenides where you can develop a complete and full, completely rational, full understanding of each of these stages. While at the same time, because it's communicated through the dialectic, you're perfecting the dialectic. It's a win-win. Whoops, wrong button. I said it's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Oh, sorry. Win-win-win is what I meant to say. Damn it.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
Emma.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
Stop kink shaming Emma.
Get the fuck out.
Come on, get the fuck out.
Honestly, on the real, I say stuff like that because I'm cool.
And me too, because I'm cool. Aren't I?
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Okay, well, I wouldn't say I'm a slut, but there you go.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now I know I'm a slut, I guess. Right, so our ideal 4-stage of drama that we've understood and played out today and reflected on leading to our ideal first, second, third hypothesis or self, or the fourth hypothesis, imitation of self, imitation of our states of mind, and imitation of our functioning. Both of which reflecting either the pathologos, the cause of our problems, which is solvable, or the logos, the cause of our excellence, which is achievable, both of which are addressed and purified or perfected through the dialectic. As we go through those first four, we can use the fifth stage of the pyramid with 5 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and recognize where we are in our stage of development. Are we in peak experiences, or are we using our understanding in the experience, if you can manage that somehow, or in the afterglow? Don't know how, we have to see how that works. If you do find a partner of this caliber and you are achieving these states and applying the dialectic, please join the Discord and share your insights, which is part of it. Sharing, as we said, the new state of the new kind of philosopher, the new way of being, is also writing your own dialogues, adding to the tradition as we are doing here, contributing, sharing your insights and experiences. If you are applying that dialectic to it, are you reaching the self? And one of the benefits is, as Pierre Crimes would say, the author of this book, you can have your coffee and drink it too, which is a cue for me to have a coffee. Cheers. By that I mean, in that peak experience, the joke they make is, if you're having it while driving, pull your car over. The problem with the brilliant light of being experience is, when you perceive reality as oneness, you could be eating a hamburger and you won't know when to stop and you'll eat your hand. Now, that's a joke. I think the point they're making is, it's a non-physical state of being. So you're out of your body. So sitting nicely with your legs crossed for some people. I don't like crossing my legs, but that's one of the benefits of seated meditation. You can just sit there while you're... But you can do anything. Laying down can be a tricky because you might fall asleep. So some people say lie down on hard floors if you don't want to bother sitting. Because you got big football player legs and they're too muscly, too powerful for cross-leggedness. Anyway, what a bizarre tangent that was.
Oh, fuck.
Brain rot escalates.
Stop telling me about my brain rot escalating. Yes, so if you want to share your experiences, please do. There's a Discord you can join. Not super active because we're still waiting for those 50,000 Asmongold and the 50,000 Hassan Piker Twitch viewers to come to my channel. The more followers I get, the more angry emails they can write to Mr. Twitch and say, hey, these people should go to Jed's channel and give him all their money. And it's terrible that they're not, and we are going to sue you. No, don't sue them, but still tell them that I should have all the viewers, because everyone is in this game. This is for everyone. That's why I'm on Twitch and YouTube. So there's our 5 stages so you can map your development or have a map for where you're going. But also, one of the things we're adding to the tradition, because those 5 are already there, and as we said, you can learn about them. So you can learn more about the stage that you're in, learn more about how to see it's a reflection. That's our method, of course. Logos, understanding your current stage, and Usia, curiously wondering about how it's an analogical reflection of a higher level or cause. That's the principle of as above, so below. Help you move from, hey, this peak experience we're in is fantastic and blissful and I love doing it and it's a good way of spending a Friday night, but also it's an analogical reflection of a higher state of being. Holy fuck, what would be a state transcending even bliss? transcending even the greatest experience. And as we were saying a minute ago, one of the benefits of the first hypothesis, self state of being, is you don't have to fall out of it. You can come in and out of experiences. That's what defines an experience. It has a beginning, middle, and end. Don't have to for the self. You can have your coffee and drink it too. And I drink some coffee. And by the way, incarnation is an experience. Can you imagine what it would be like to have a knowledge of the self as the first cause, the, what was the word? The ultimate source? Divine source? What's the word that we used? Sacred source? Sacred source. Where is it? Imagine putting that on your hamburger. We have fun here.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I
And we joy maxing.
And she spit on him also.
And also she spit on them. Speaking of roles and fantasies. Come on.
die mad about it, bitch.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Calm down.
What is this? The damn Opie and Anthony? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's the damn Opie and Anthony show with all of our wacky comedy sound drops. The hell are we talking about? So, yes, you don't have to come out of it. So, imagine knowing the self as the sacred source, even through multiple reincarnations. Would that be a kind of learning we might be here to master? Forget about that. Would it be a kind of learning you would like? In all of the ups and downs, and whatever scene you're in, whatever lifetime you're in, whatever drama you're in, whatever dream you're in, whatever reincarnation you're in, whatever dimension of reality you're in, you always have that kind of knowledge of the self. Could that be related to the repeating idea of smiling? Socrates says, oh, you're recognizing something and you're smiling. Because if anything was to make someone smile in the highest possible sense. No, notice, smiling's different from bliss. Bliss is peaking out and blissing out and profound and overwhelming. Smiling is different, but you can stay there. The difference between the penultimate and the ultimate spiritual state. Now, smiling has been playing a role through our text. Socrates just said, here you are basking in the glory of the answer and smiling away. Because Jesus had an insight. Why is Socrates pointing to the... He hasn't done it, but well, he's done it a couple of times, but this is unusual. Oh, look at you. I'm going to pause from our reflection of ideas to talk about your state of mind, and you're smiling. Excuse me. As above, so below. Can we be basking in the glory of the ultimate answer and purpose? And would that create a state where we can smile away wherever we are? What else do we have the term smiling? Okay, smiling is one. Let's look for the word smile. Don't smile. But the Logos did take who's saying here? Oh, the chorus. These are the haters. Right, the haters are mad at the philosophers who are smiling. Because the chorus are the haters. They're the ones who say, don't do this. But finally, towards the end of the book, they say, well, actually, I am curious for the first time in the book about what was said of the Logos and how the idea of perfection come in. Perfection, Aphrodite. Logos, Apollo. They are becoming open to the dialectic, the haters, but they see the philosophers smiling. Interesting. It is pleasant to talk about this and smile at our sameness, is it not? What is Socrates seeing that makes him smile? The sameness of what? Do away with punishment and the bad guys smile away. Okay, this is the haters again, the chorus. So the haters think smiling is to do with bad people getting away with their pathologos. No.
Brain rot.
That's weird that you think that.
It's weird they think that. Whoops. Smiling away. Jesus saying, "You made my day, and it will sure bring a smile along with it." Homer smiled. The chorus again, mistaking the smile oh, that's interesting. So maybe just as our hypothesis that the knowing of the self can bring a perpetual smile, the pathologos has its Joker smile, its sadistic smile. Ever seen Netanyahu talk on TV about murdering millions of innocent Palestinians or Iranians? Or does he have a sinister smile when he can get away with his pathologos injustice? What's our reflection? What's our insight? Pathologos is the distorted reflection of the logos. Brings a smile to the wise. Anyway, that's Jesus. We want to see what Socrates talks about the smile. With a smile, you drop in something interesting. Right, so the big smile was when the haters recognized there was a smile that came across the faces of those hearing them become interested in the logos. So, it's a puzzle, working hypothesis. We are going to go into the ox herding pictures, the revised version. The ox herding pictures, which is the closest thing to a map of spiritual development from Zen Buddhism, but the author of this book has introduced the logos to them. And I think the word smile plays a role there. We've got that on the horizon. But all of this learning we can take with us to explore the ox herding pictures, along with our questions about the hypotheses, whether or not there's two states of the first hypothesis, Kuranos and Uranos, whether or not there is, just as there's a rejection of these four states, is there a rejection of that? And would that be a kind of functioning of the pathologos? So could we add the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th? And if the highest cause is being called the one or the good, is there a mysterious level even beyond the self? What the heck could that be? So we can take these questions with us. But today, reviewing.
I think it's so awesome.
It is awesome.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Okay, and that's also important too. We should love them. Right, Emma?
Spit on me.
Okay, Emma trying hard to be like one of them. That's okay, Emma.
Crap. Junk. Nobody should be watching this crap.
Come on, calm down. I think you might be being a bit of an incel.
It's great because it's stupid, but it gets a lot of attention, mate.
Oh my goodness, are you mocking my accent?
That's weird that you think that.
They're completely lying to you.
Yeah.
They're completely lying.
Completely. So, right, so that's a reflection on the use of Hermes and Apollo to Aphrodite to reach Zeus, or mapping our development in the ideal relationship on, oops, I'm on the wrong page. Mapping our development of the pathologos expression of the living dialectic. We can map our progress on this map, which only has 5 steps. Now we just said, maybe there are a couple of extra ones we can add at the end. Maybe we can also extend it to include the rejections. But also what we need to add is, just as there is the ideal functioning of this 4 with our dialectical understanding. I rubbed off the board. Understand. Okay. dialectical, underwear? I said underwear.
Dude, suck my dick.
Oh my goodness.
They're completely lying to you.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, who want to kiss a fox.
Just a fox. Understanding. Dialectical understanding. Right. So just as there is a positive expression that we can map through these 5 stages, every possible stage of development we are going through that we can now map, there's a map. How do you get to California? How do you get to LA? You follow a map. But also we see that we have to do both. In other words, as we map the logos, we also have a pathologos counterattack that functions through the interpretation of our belief. That's the negative. Dialectical understanding is positive. Interpretation is how we function or division as a reflection of our pathologos. So we can add to the 5 hypotheses that map the logos of development. We can add to that a corresponding pathologos map of interpretation to help our beloved through, going back to the conversation yesterday with our chatter. The lowest, similar to rejecting the self or logos or mind of the 5th hypothesis, state of ignorance, rejecting any new insight, any new logos, any new truth or logos, any new truth. Truth, insight, or the new logos. And instead, introducing your pathologos. That's interpretation. No, fuck what you have to say. It's actually Jesus. It's actually I suck. It's actually we should bomb people. We will reject a new truth. So, going back to our conversation yesterday, this new understanding of relationships, why problems happen, and the ideal, our chatter will probably reject it. Or have that impulse. Or maybe she's been in the channel long enough to not just outright reject it, but go, oh, that's interesting, but. So the 4th hypothesis we saw was belief. The 4th hypothesis interpretation version is offering a belief. Not rejecting like the 5th, I'm just offering a belief. You know what I think my problems of relationships are is this. She did go through that stage. So she was moving. I think she started by ignoring me and then maybe she offered her beliefs. So we can map her progress. 3rd hypothesis, which is the functioning. Dialectic is the ideal, but the interpretation model. Remember, as we go through the 5 stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, every stage is new. So for every stage, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stages of dealing with our pathologos that we might be in, that we can map also, that we can apply. So there's another 5, and another 5, all the way up. Because we have both. We have pathologos and logos. So the work of the dialectic, or the work of adapting the new to the old. So maybe she'll take a piece of what she learned in our dialogue and keep her old ideas about relationships, the kind of guys that she would seek out, be attracted to, the kind of role she wants to play, and just use a little bit. Maybe I'll be more assertive in my doormatness. Insisting on the logos, maybe I'll insist on my pathologos. I like the idea of insisting, I'll take that. But notice, she's still in a problem. Or maybe she's reflected on it a little bit, maybe even seen this video, and she really likes what's being said. You know what? I'm still really attached to my old way of being. I like that kind of sex that happens when I'm in this role. I like this kind of relationship. I like the excitement of, oh, is he going to get mad today, or what's going to happen, or Or I like going into public thinking, do they think I'm weird because of... But I can't deny everything we've said about the new. Can I have both? Can I unify? They're both true? And maybe she might try that for a while. A few months, maybe. And eventually she realizes, no, that doesn't work. I can't simultaneously carry the cause of my problems that I want to remove and have my excellence. They don't fit. I can't have my bad idea of myself and the true self. They are incompatible. So now I have to put my big girl pants on.
Get the fuck out.
I'm going to get you. I'm going to find you. And I'm going to get you.
And don't get me, please.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
I have a sickness for the thickness.
She has a sickness for the thickness. So, I can't have them both. I have to put my big girl pants on. That was my stupid joke. And sacrifice that old to embrace the new. I can't unify them. What's that called? That's the first level. That's number one. Accepting the new truth or logos and rejecting the old beliefs, pathologos. That's where we want to be. Just as the first hypothesis, the smile maybe of knowing the self, is where we want to be. So, a review with reference to a review of the talk of yesterday, while at the same time reviewing the pyramid of humanity. Win, win, win.
I'm always good. And that is what I stand for, being good all the time.
That's also true, but also
Win, 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 win.
Win. It's a win.
Win-win.
it's a win-win.
Win, win, win.
Win, 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 winning. All day,
I don't want to eat a monkey.
all night. All day, all night. Don't want to eat a monkey.
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know. So, review of the talk or a demonstration of this dialectic. Dialectic. Demonstration of this dialectic applied to the pathologos and then the logos to realize that we have an end goal of both that we are meditating on, which is a triad, an idea of self, state of mind, and functioning. That could be the ideal or the problem. The meditation goes through 4 stages that allows us to understand all dramas in relationships or in anything, and the fucking board is stuck. So let's zoom in, and it's me.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Thank you, I guess.
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Oh, thank you. Is it back? Yes, it's fixed. So that happens at that. So dialectic, 1 art, 2 expressions, leading to a threesome of a conclusion via 4 stages of drama that play out in everything, society, politics, and in our relationships. As we perfect the logos and purify the logos, we can have a map for each. Both of them are 5, and both of them reflect the same 5 stages or principles. The 4 stages of the dialectic and the final principle, which also relates to the 5 causes, by the way. The goal, the end result, Billy having a place to live in, the map or blueprints, the activity, remember, the true activity or the work of trying to adapt the new to the old, the builders building the house, the skill, and the material. Now, cause down here, it sort of loses because this is applied to our problems, and building a house, you don't have problems. So it does fit the 5 causes, but a bit more abstract down the bottom. But those are the 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, giving us a review and a demonstration of the pyramid of humanity that we've been learning, because this book bangs so fucking hard. It's a goddamn masterpiece. Maybe one of the best books ever written. If it gives us this map of everything, how to crush them turts and get that princess and win the South Silent Hill and put an end to our problems, while giving us an opportunity to add to that tradition ourselves. Pretty cool. So reviewing our talk yesterday and reviewing the pyramid. But it does a third thing. It anticipates tomorrow's talk. Because just as we can apply this to relationships, we can apply this to not just a problem in relationships, but a problem within our species. If we can identify that there is a specific kind of pathologos that is being used to justify the murdering of innocent school children in Iran, the bombing of countries all over the world by America and Israel, the torturing of children in Epstein Island and by the capitalist class through capitalism, the imprisonment of everyone through ICE and conservatives. If there is a single kind of false belief that this is necessary because bad things happen because of bad people or the existence of evil or Satan, and you can't solve it with this, the dialectic, you have to just bomb them or torture them or imprison them or enslave them or exploit them, which is what the clergy, conservatives, capitalists, and right-wing comedians say, then the root of all of the justification or the motivation of the extreme injustice, death, and destruction sweeping across the land, we could identify as a kind of pathologos. So if we want to have a good relationship, not with our partner, but with our species, can we demonstrate everything we learned today and yesterday to be the good partner of our relationship with our species by going through this reflection on the pathologos that is the root cause of human injustice, which we've identified as using the maps, the 5th stage of the pyramid. I've been using Pyramid Head in my thumbnails because Resident Evil is cool. Isn't it cool?
It makes sense.
I do make sense.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
Thank you for my analogies. So, while we can say that map of 4 on 5, wisdom is here and ignorance is here, while we can say in general, the cause of all human problems, death, and destruction is our 4th hypothesis, beliefs from our childhood experience, our pathologos, and our 5th hypothesis, functioning from our beliefs to reject mind and self. We can be more specific by adding the full map of all possible worldviews, expanding out the kinds of pathologos beliefs from 4 into 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. For example, the 8th hypothesis is a kind of pathologos belief called reductionism or materialism. Everything is just a physical thing. There isn't even a whole. So it's a rejection of the whole of even belief, even though it's a belief. So if you understand its position, it falls down. Just like nihilism, 9th hypothesis, is a rejection of even parts. There's not even physical parts. Materialism has parts. Nihilism, even that's an illusion. Even that's delusion, the matrix. Delusion, deluding the deluded. The 7th hypothesis, kind of 4th hypothesis, pathologos belief, is a rejection of the logos. If the solution to problems is logos, if our purpose is to master the logos, which is the dialectic, if the spiritual movement to purify our false beliefs and develop into that peak experience and to move through it to our final cause is the logos, then we can see why the 7th hypothesis is so fucking important to understand and remove. So what is the 7th hypothesis? You're in the realm of mind, so there are some sort of rationality or forces behind reality, but it's not from the self and mind providentially, intelligence, caringly, understandably to help us develop. No, there is no hierarchy other than two equal and opposite forces of good and bad that are fighting each other. They're always going to be opposed, always conflict, always division. Remember, the solution, well, the inevitable conclusion of our problems is conflict and division. So to take this inevitable conclusion of our B state, our problem state, as a worldview to justify, hey, all of this bullshit killing people or enslaving people is justified because this conclusion is my entire worldview because I'm in the seventh hypothesis. Kind of ignorance. So, there's always going to be division. Satan and God can never come together. Good and evil can never come together. Muslims and Christians can never come together. Americans and non-Americans can never come together. Working class and billionaires can never come together. Conservatives and Democrats can never come together. There's only always death and destruction. Seventh hypothesis. There is no higher principle. There's none better than the other. As we have in the Logos, it's a hierarchical principle of development and cause. It's a position in the activity of mind, reasoning, or forces that rejects the Logos, is the definition of the seventh hypothesis. It is exemplified with God and Satan. Currently, at the time of recording, the Minister of War for the Americans are saying we are supposed to murder and bomb and destroy the entire Middle East because of Jesus. And because we are defeating Satan, we are doing God's work. Trump is appointed by God. Netanyahu is telling the same thing to his foot soldiers. We are the chosen people by God. God is a historical force in the world, picked a side, and he wants you to blow up the other side and get their shit. Enslave them. That's seventh hypothesis thinking, and it can be exemplified or personified as Satan versus God. And there are lots of words for Satan: sinner, heretic, heathen, goyim for the Jews, infidel, woke, terrorist, to reject the Logos, that every human being is important, every self is important, every mind is important, and every life to develop through this map is fucking important. We're rejecting that to say, no, it isn't, just my ignorance is important because God and because you're Satan. Therefore, we can demonstrate what we've been learning in today and yesterday's reflection and demonstration of the pyramid, of the dialectic, of humanity, in addressing perhaps the greatest problem that comes up in our relationship with our own species. That will also play out within your own soul. Do you blame yourself for your problems? Do you call yourself evil or a bad noodle or a bad egg or a small bean? Don't shoot yourself down. That'll keep you in your problems. So, as important for us individually, when we reject our purpose, the thing we should be doing with every moment we have on our life, perfecting the third hypothesis, dialectic, whenever we do that, reject our purpose, or whenever we play into that bullshit, you're wrong because you're not good enough, you don't belong, you've got an illness, you've got a psychological sickness, you're broken, fuck that, that's seventh hypothesis ignorance. So whenever you reject your purpose or beat yourself up, you are in this seventh hypothesis worldview, the very one that's being used to justify punishment, oppression, death, and destruction sweeping across our society and our world. So in other words, this ideal relationship that we have been understanding and defining, necessary for removing our problems, applied to the worst kind of problem, the worst kind of pathologos, that's the culmination of this masterpiece of a book. We're going to use everything we've learned about the pyramid, about relationships, about in our reflection, to defeat Satan by defeating the belief in Satan, which blocks the Logos, which is our purpose. the personification of the pathologos. Not Satan, but the belief in Satan, we are going to address hopefully tomorrow by going through the dialectic that Socrates tries to do this very thing with Jesus. Did I mention this book's a motherfucking banger?
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I
Can I do my
Join
plugs now?
No plugs.
The more holes, the better.
Thank you, Emma, with the win at the end. Trying to do plugs and trying to aura-mog me. Come on, soundboard characters.
you're a little bitch ass baby.
Oh, come on. So mean today.
Hey, whoa, don't, that's a scary voice, man. Don't do that. Hey, my kids watch this.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry about that scary voice. That was the soundboard, not my fault.
Dude, suck my dick.
Okay. But his kids watch this
I ate a steak. I'm stupid. I'm drunk
Stupid.
all the time, you know.
all the time.
I'm just like you. Oh,
Me?
You sick fuck.
Come on. So, interesting, important, worthwhile. Can you, by the way, everything that you've understood about this, you'll have to prove it. Can you apply it in your own relationships? And are you excited to slay Satan? It's been on the cards for the last few episodes, but we get there tomorrow. But maybe super important to nail down the methodology and the map that we're going to use to defeat Satan. Perhaps the most dangerous of all of Pathologos because it's defined by an opposition to the Logos, the very thing needed to solve problems. So, fucking cool. How cool is that? Really though, is it cool?
I have a sickness for the thickness.
Yeah, we have Cygnus for that thing.
it makes sense.
And I do make sense.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
I think so too, Emma. Emma on the ball at the end of today. Thank you once again for joining me. If you do want to support the channel, you can donate if you have the funds. And you can join the Discord and find a link to the text. And you can join on Twitch and YouTube and all that. And I will see you in the next one where we will take arms against the evil one. Satan. Can we defeat him? The true hero's journey.
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
I'll see you then. Bye.